Hello, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Let me make sure our chat box is set up and you guys can. Okay. Yep. If you want to say hello in the chat box, would love to hear from you, where you're joining us from. Oh, but hello, I have missed you. It's been a hot minute. Good morning. Hello. It says hi from Germany. What part of Germany are you in? Okay, let's see. Okay, how close is that to Bremen? Because I just a week ago got home from Bremen, Germany, and we had a great experience. So, hi everyone, as you're dropping in. Hi Terry. Hi Tracy. North Carolina and St. Louis. Hi Chaz from Newport Beach. Yes, I missed you guys. It's been several weeks. And there we go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. And yes, so my husband and I. Hello, everyone. As you're joining us, please say hello in the chat box. If you want to grab something to take some notes, feel free to do that. But it's so good to see you. I'm Tiff or Tiffany Peterson. And just in case we've never met before, and our dear friends Andy and Natalie and some of their children are still traveling in Europe right now. They were over there for the European Convention and they're doing some additional travels, which was fun. I was in Europe at the time of the European Convention but didn't attend. As I was mentioning, I was in Germany. My husband had a disc replacement back surgery, and they are world renowned. They have a world renowned, well known back surgeon and clinic there. It was a first class experience. And often here, sometimes I've been asked the question, well, why'd you go all the way to Germany for this? Well, here in the United States, most of our back surgeons are recommending fusions when you have like an issue like my husband. He pretty much had two vertebrae on top of each other. And oftentimes they recommend fusions here. Well, not always, but many times with a back fusion, you have to then keep fusing and then you have a lack of mobility. And in this case, where we went, they have this amazing, here's the irony, is these discs are produced in California, but they're not approved in the United States yet. And the US has started in certain places offering this surgery, but this particular disc, they literally go in and insert a disc into between the vertebrae. So you are able to maintain mobility and have basically a disc replaced there. And so people in our network had done this. We knew of this. He'd been researching it for 5+ years. So we went over to Germany for a few weeks and he had this surgery. And thankfully, things went so well for him. He's healing up so great. You'd never know he had a back surgery here a few weeks ago. His back pain is gone. What he's healing up is the way they do this procedure is he basically had like a vertical, like he has like a vertical 6-inch scar on his abdomen, so like a vertical C-section type thing. And so that's mainly what we're healing up in his experience. So yes, technology is so cool and medicine and what's advanced. And again, this clinic in Germany has been offering this for like 30 years. And here in the States, they've started doing it in like the last year and a half, but we wanted to go to the best, right? If you're going to have a surgery like that. But we also had some opportunity to do a little sightseeing, and I fell madly in love with Germany, right? And over there in Europe, just the gorgeous architecture and the flowers and everything just being so vibrant. And it was so much fun. In addition to, I mean, it was like, it's like it was so there was stress and angst, right? And it took me a while to get my sleep aligned, and that's always fun. And then, but then also beautiful and gratitude. And so, anyway, it's so nice to be back with you guys. We've been home about a week and got my own sleep, back adjusted. I mean, jet lag is real. You guys, like, wow, that was legit. Like, we got home the first few days and it was like climbing to like get to 8 o'clock, get to 9 o'clock, then you can go to bed. So, anyway, we're doing so well. But happy June, everyone. Welcome to June and welcome to summer. And I know that's different parts of the world where we're navigating weather and temps. But I want to hear, how are you? And have you, with the beginning of a new month, I'm a big fan of taking some time to reflect. We're not going to do a lot of that here. I want to keep more time open for coaching of what's up for you guys. But I'm going to invite you, if you'll jot some of these things down, that I do invite you to take some time to reflect. I like you to do this every month, is thinking about what were my wins and victories for the month of May? What were my life lessons, distractions? What are my intentions or my goals for June? Do you think about that for yourself personally and professionally? You know, what some of those things are. And you may even want to create, there's something that my husband and I on a shared notes app, right, started is our like summer bucket list. I always love to do that, a summer bucket list of what do you want to experience more of this summer? And most of the things on our summer bucket list are small things, right? It's not like everything is a big trip to Europe, for instance. It can be those things, but it's like, oh, the sunrise and sunsets and gardening and going on hikes and campfires and, strawberry shakes and things like that. And yes, going to the rodeo and going to the lake and variety of things, but just becoming more intentional. That's the thought that I really want you all to drop back into is the power of intention, right? The power of intention. What am I here to create today? What am I here to create this week, this month? What do I want to see more of? Whether that's in your gardening, right? I got home and last week, I very intentionally, here's a little pro tip when you travel, and whether you're traveling, again, a few hours away or several time zones away, whatever your travel might look like. I learned this from a mentor many years ago is to have a buffer day when you get home from traveling. Anyone else understand that? Like, have you ever said, gosh, I need a vacation from my vacation? If you come home from being gone for a week or even a few days, and sometimes like if I've just been gone a day or two, say for a work travel, an overnight speaking engagement or something, I might have half day, right? That I might come home and say, okay, say I get home on a Sunday night, probably my first half of Monday is dedicated to its open space to get grounded, some good self-care, maybe start the laundry, get to the grocery store, things like that. Well, having buffer days when you travel really valuable, right? Is how you also integrate wherever you might be. And so when I got home, last week, we got home Tuesday afternoon from like 18 hours of travel, right, from our different connecting flights. And so really, of course, when I got home and got on a walk and things like that, but the next few days, I did spend some time gardening, doing some weeding and planting some new things, getting my hands in the dirt, just getting myself grounded, doing some of those things, and really didn't have many work related things until I did have a few things Friday morning, but just allowed myself some space, right, to integrate back home. And so that's a little pro tip that I learned years ago, and it's having a buffer day or several days. I took a few days because, again, I was integrating back home from an entirely different time zone that my body, because we'd been there a few weeks, had adjusted to, right? We were on Europe time and Germany time. And so that's a thing I think that's really good for your self-care. But why I'm telling you this, again, back to intention, is it's been so fun. Like I'm so excited. I just went on my morning walk today before I met with you all to get that sunlight in and get my body moving. And as I walk back home and up my little steps into my home, I'm just like smiling. I'm loving seeing all these beautiful flowers that I've intentionally planted, right? And so I just invite you guys thinking about that as intentional is what you want to intentionally create this week, this month, this season of your life. What are some of the favorite things, again, from trying a new recipe, right, to travel, to hikes or play, to gardening, to work, to creation, to opportunity? How is it that what you want to see show up and what you want to see yourself experience? Yeah, lots of good things in the chat box. Yes, I need it. And yes, so important. Hi, Candace. Nice to see you here too. Terry, thank you for sharing that she's got a blend, if you guys can see this, called the Wound Whacker. What a name. I love a good alliteration, love, with just the different oil blends. So thank you for sharing that. Yes, so beautiful. Thank you for that. Okay. Hi, Kata. Nice to see you too. You said you also came home from the European Convention. I love that. Beautiful. So how have you guys been? What have I missed? What are you working on? And if there's questions you want to start populating in the chat box or the Q&A box, feel free to do that. How can I best support or serve you here today? I've had a beautiful and very expansive few days. I was invited to be part of, there's a members only, it's like a membership invited network that meets once a year called Patao. And it's just incredible. You guys, like CEOs, CMOs, CEOs of major, major brands, companies, like so many groups that are part of this. And like to participate in this group is a decent investment. Anyway, they moved it, normally it's in Southern California, and they put it in Park City, Deer Valley the last 2 days. And a dear friend of mine that helps run this event, she actually also produces my podcast. She is a big event coordinator for them. And she said, we'd love to have you come up. And if you're open to this, facilitate a couple of what they call spark sessions. And so I said yes to this, not knowing, again, like whose sessions I'd be navigating. But I've had the most rich few days. Maybe some of you saw this on social media. Some of you people were like, oh my gosh, what are you doing hanging out with Paris Hilton? Right. And it was like, well, she's part of this community. And I got to facilitate a session for her on her upcoming creative projects. She was so warm, so lovely, and that woman is very smart. And it was interesting. One of the things she was sharing is how, she has an album, a new musical album coming out in September, and how she was talking about the media's really kind of shaped a persona of her. And some of that she, of course, she knows and acknowledges she's played into, but that woman is very bright, very sharp. And we just had great creative conversation. And then yesterday I was with two women that are activists and being acknowledged. One woman, she's Barack Obama's half sister, and she leads all this great work out of Hawaii on peace leadership. Another woman that's this incredible poet, Grammy Award winning, met, so many beautiful humans. Cute Katie Couric. She was such a inspiration in my life growing up. I mean, the room and this environment was just like amazing, of so much thought leadership, and how I was so impressed with how kind people were. But literally, it was a room with billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, right? I mean, you have every major brand you can think of that's represented there. And I tell you that just simply for the fact of like the opportunity being open and saying yes, right? I'd heard about this event, not necessarily understanding the full scope of it, because again, Christine, my friend and producer, had shared this with me. And so it was just fun to just drop into a cool space and have great, rich conversation about ways we can improve the planet, ways that we can have more positive influence, helping our youth, our teens, helping humans, greater mental health. I mean, it was just really rich. And so the power of putting yourself in a really nourishing environment. And that's one of your intentions I'm going to invite you to carry this summer. And I'm also going to encourage you to come to your convention in September, right? Because the potency of that is so important, of putting yourself in nourishing environments, right? Your environment, there's three key things. I want you guys to write this down. Some of you've heard me train on this before, but it's been a hot minute. So let's refresh this. But there's three key things that are shaping your success currently and will shape your future success. And that is your mindset, right? Some of you just participated with me in May. How many of you did my mindset makeover course in May? I absolutely loved that group. Loved it. Yes, Miss Layla, love that you were part of that. But your mindset, your habits, and your environment are your three key major influences that are supporting you or helping influence what you're creating. And so to take some time reflecting on, am I actively nourishing my mindset? Your mind is a muscle. And just like any muscle in your body, it needs time intentionally to be strengthened. So what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you're scrolling. As I was getting ready this morning, I was just listening to a podcast. I'm not through it all the way, that Mel Robbins recently had on as a guest. I think it might be her most recent show, talking about our time and our technology and how that influences our brain, right? But your mindset, are you actively reading, listening to things that nourish your mind, your affirmation work, your mirror work, things that intentionally are you guiding your mind, right? Because a lot of times, if we're not intentional about that, I thought about this last week. Again, I had my hands in the dirt doing a lot of weeding, a lot of planting, but I'm like, the weeds always return. And it's being intentional with what you're planting and thinking about thoughts you choose to think. Write this for me in your notes. What thoughts do I choose to think? What beliefs do I choose to nourish? That's the power of nourishing your mindset. Number two is your power of your habits, right? And that's not new information. Power of your habits. Your habits, again, like how you manage time, your health habits, your business habits, productivity, habits, right? Together as a group, we all read the book, Atomic Habits, the first of the year, but the potency of what are my habits and how they create what they influence, right? And then the third one is environments. Your environment, like in terms of, is my space inspiring to me? Your physical environment. Maybe you need to do some decluttering. Maybe that's up for you. But also your environments of who you hang out with and the spaces you spend time in, right? Like the Share Success call we do every Wednesday is also an environment that you've chosen to be part of, where we're going to talk about thought leadership. We're going to talk about inspiration, talk about change. We're also going to talk about challenges and the things that are up for us. And so the potency of, again, being in this environment, but other environments, and that's what I'm saying. The last 2 days, I was in an environment in Deer Valley with incredible thought leaders and change makers. And we had Nelson Mandela's granddaughter there, who they gave out some Nelson Mandela awards, change maker awards, things like that. And you just think about, though, your environments from your home to your relationships, but choosing to come. I'm curious, how many of you are coming to convention? How many of you have already for sure bought a ticket, or maybe some of you are on the fence? How many of you are coming to convention? I love that. Several of you saying yes, yes, yes. I love that. You'll be there. That's such a great deposit for your growth, for your mindset, and for your specific business, right? Putting yourself in the room, putting yourself in that environment is one of the most powerful things that you can do, right? When I think about success hacks, when we sometimes use that language, success hacks, what are some of those? Well, it's like spend time with people who've already achieved what you want and spend time with positive people, other people who are growth oriented, and how important that is. It's so valuable. Yeah, I love it. Many of you saying yes, 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 and getting your, influencing your teams and influencing, the people in your life to come with you and being part of that. Yeah, so good. I love that. Esther saying it's been suggested that the time of the new moon, which is tomorrow, June 6th, we plant seeds of intention. Yes, I love that. So again, it's just any day of the week, any time of the year, the power of intention, the power of creation. What do you want to create? What do you want to be intentional about for your summer, for your home, your heart, your relationships? Something that's been on my mind a little bit. I was thinking about this on my walk today that I just want to tuck in here just because I'm like, it's percolating. So maybe someone needs to hear that. But the reminder of coming home to be intentional in relationships and to be grateful for those relationships and to nourish them intentionally, to express that gratitude. I've been seeing in a couple of different people I'm connected to in my life, in my world, their relationships are, in terms of their primary relationship, their love relationship and whatnot. I'm seeing several people who are divorcing and going separate ways. And that's been in a little bit in the network. And it's like, okay. And I've been married and divorced in the past before. I get that. I don't shame that ever, because sometimes that is absolutely such a great choice, transformational. It's healthy, it's healing, it's expansive, and so forth. So it's not a judgment call. It's just an awareness that I think sometimes if we're not intentional, back to this concept, we can take people for granted. And that can be our sweetheart, our friends, our customers, or sometimes if we're not careful, we can wander into the weeds of resentment, right? I don't know if you guys have ever felt that way or been bothered about people in your quote downline and leaders. They're not pulling their weight. They're not doing these things, or my spouse this, or this person that, and so forth. Now, I'm not saying there's healthy boundaries, of course, and things like that, but I think that it's important that we're reminded of that no one owes you anything, right? And that might sound a little bold to say in terms of like, they don't have to stay with you. And sometimes the people that are closest to us, if we're not careful, we can take them for granted, or we're like, well, they just, yeah. And just to be mindful of that is how we want to show up also in your relationships. And the thing also in relationship is you can't control how other people show up. You can't control them. You can only influence them, but you can control who am I going to be, right? Like I love Esther saying that in her question is who do I want to be versus what do I want to do? Who do I want to be in relationship? How do I want to influence my sweetheart, my partner, my friends, my customers? How do I want to show up there? And with gratitude and appreciation and love and so forth. Now, again, when it comes to relationships, that's such a layered thing, right? And certain people, because some of you, maybe there are relationships, it's actually the best thing for you is to release them and let them go. And I'm just inviting us all, though, of being intentional of like, okay, how do I want to show up? And being mindful of that. So as you think about, I want to be intentional in relationship, I want to be intentional with my home, my space, clutter, right? Like Candace saying, clutter is not my friend. I feel you. Yes, it's like, hey, releasing some of that and working through that. But being intentional about what goes in your body, what goes in your brain, being intentional about the relationships you're nourishing and your network and your business and how you're showing up there. It's just coming home to intention. So that's what I wanted to just make sure we talked about first thing because it's the beginning of a new month, new season, and just choosing into being intentional about that. Okay, so I'm scrolling back, and would you tell me, it says Naturally O, and if you would tell me what your name is, just so I know who that is, I'd love that. And she's asking some questions. If you have a home workshop, what's a good incentive for the host? And I'm optimizing these workshops. What have you guys seen is great gifts. Hi, Sarah, nice to have you here. Um, Gifts for incentivizing people to have a in-home class or something like that. I know I've seen people do different kinds of products, right? Or maybe a little mini gift basket, things of that nature, things that are supportive or doTERRA related products, or perhaps the Essential Emotions book, along with maybe an oil or two or something like that. What are some things you guys have done? Yeah, I love that. Shelly says the keychain filled with their favorite oils. I love that one. Maybe it's a great book, a favorite book of yours. Might even say like Atomic Habits with then, the Essential Life book or Essential Emotions, things of that nature. But if you guys want to share some ideas too, diffuser and an oil, I love that, Terry. Yes, I love my essential oil diffuser. I love them. I have a few of them, obviously, right? Because you need more than one in your home, but I think that's a great question. Okay, let's see. And also the question, Sarah asks, what did you do for becoming self-confident? Or are you born with that? Or do you have a recommendation for a program or coaching? I love this question. Self-confidence is a muscle. I love to say confidence is a choice and it's also a habit. I'm not always myself personally. I don't know if you're asking me that as Tiff or as like an overall just general human conversation. Of course, the environment people are born into, and of course, genetics and different things, their influences. But I think every one of us has the opportunity to work on a combination of our mental health as well as then what we might say our self-confidence. But realizing, so ask yourself this, Sarah, and everyone else listening, write this question down. What are some of the habits? What are some of the thoughts, the beliefs, the affirmations, and the habits that activate a sense or a feeling of self-confidence? Because often when we think about confidence, we're thinking about a feeling, right? I want to feel self-confident, right? And so asking, what are some of the habits that help build that? The recommendation for a program, I'd absolutely say my Mindset Makeover course, and you can purchase that on my site at tiffanyspeaks.com. It's not an active session right now, but those recordings and that workbook, you can go through that in a self-study manual type thing. But that absolutely is a potent way. It's like the power of your thoughts, but thinking about what are certain actions and activities that help build your confidence. Because thinking about it as a habit. Now, myself, why I'm so passionate about self-care, self-empowerment, self-soothing, self-confidence is because growing up, especially as a youth and teenage years, that junior high time frame, some of you know I talk about my 8th grade self. I had no self-confidence, none. And even sometimes as a woman in my 40s, there's times I still struggle or I have an insecurity, like again, the weeds always return. I've had absolutely at times where it's like my own self-confidence, gets shaky, or an insecurity comes up, self-doubt. This is absolutely something we all navigate. Jennifer says, what was her question? The sound went out for a second on your end. Is self-confidence. Are you born with it or can you develop it? But all of us, again, it's like, what are things? Ask yourself this question. And if you want to share anything in the chat box, please do so. But what builds your confidence? What helps you feel more confident? How important that is that you're intentional about that. Again, so a part of why I'm so passionate about this work, and sometimes I get to speak to youth. Tonight I'm speaking to a women's group here in Utah, and I'll be tying some of this in, is how we show up for ourselves, right? Is that often you're not going to get your self-confidence out there, right? And sometimes that's where we're a little bit tricked, or we're a little bit out of alignment, is that we're looking for our confidence out there, right? And especially as women, and we're changing these narratives, but especially as women, as growing up, we waited to be picked, right? Like, ooh, am I going to be chosen? Now, all of us, men and women, understand that from childhood of like, did I get picked for the baseball team, the dodgeball team? Was I invited though? Was I included? Am I voted as this? What did I get, these accolades and attention, or was I ignored? Was I, popular, or was I popular, right? Or was I a nerd, or these different things, growing up, all these different labels, and realizing this is an inside job. And even again, you might be 25, you might be 75, whatever your age is, you go, you know what? I'm going to choose to be intentional and responsible for my own self-confidence. How am I going to speak to myself? I'm going to become my own best friend. I'm going to have my own back, right? Because sometimes we're so like, can someone else help me and support me, and, or someone else. And again, we need each other. We need community. And it's not either or, it's how you also, again, are showing up for you. What thoughts are you thinking? What's your self-talk like? Many of you, your self-talk is, oh, so harsh. And sometimes my self-talk, I need to keep that in check, right? Apparently my email is still going off. Sorry about that, loves. You can hear that little ding. But it's thinking about this again, is like from your thoughts and your self-talk and then your habits. One of the reasons I'm such a big fan of my own self-care and the different practices that means, right, is that helps me how I feel better. Like I've been prioritizing sleep. My husband and I have been laughing about this, where I'm like, look, sleep is the queen. She runs the roost. And so everything is around like getting my sleep in a great space. And so how you sleep, right? But that I got on a walk this morning. Part of like, I want to show up vibrant for all of you, is like, hey, I started my day with prayer and reading, and then got on a walk and got in the sun and got moving. And now I drop into showing up for you. But I showed up for me first before I showed up for you. And so you think about those habits, right? And again, I don't do self-care perfectly. No one does. But what are the things that light you up, that bring you joy? Some of you know about my joy list teaching, is come up with a list of 12 things that cost money, 12 things that don't cost money, and that things that bring you joy. And you choose, like, I'm going to nourish me, right? I'm going to turn just give me 1 second. Well, maybe not. 1 second. Okay, we're just going to roll with it. Sorry about the background noise of my email if you're hearing some of that. But again, it's like you're going to choose to show up for yourself. You're going to choose to date yourself. One of the ways when I attracted, Brett and I, when we met a couple of years ago, back in 2020, and one of the things he's like, I just was so drawn to you, is like, you're so vibrant and happy. And I also didn't feel this pressure that I had to just like be your only thing to light you up. You were lit up, right? And it's really true, is that when I met Brett and we started dating, and our relationship, now again, it wasn't perfect, but it was like, I was loving my life. That's a great affirmation, by the way. Even if you don't feel this way, write this for me in your notes. I love my life. Put it on a 3x5 card, get it on your mirror. I love my life. Even if you're like, Tiff, I don't love my life right now, but start declaring that over your life. Start intentionally being like, I love my life. How many of you have a gratitude journal? How many of you have my creation journal, right? My own copy is right here. This is a powerful, powerful tool that I've had done for years in like blank page journal that I just created, right, for into this copy. Sorry about that. Just getting over the tail end of a little cold. But this is a tool that helps me get intentional. Focus on gratitude, focus on what I'm manifesting, what I want to create, right? This is a great way of you go, okay, I'm going to focus on, I love my life. What are my gratitudes? And these are things that you start to do to cultivate as habits where it's like, hey, your happiness, your self-confidence is on you. It doesn't mean other people, do they contribute to it? Yes. Does my sweetheart contribute to my happiness? Absolutely. He is a beautiful, absolute blessing in my life. So grateful. Dear friends in my life, rich friendships, relationships, work that I love, right? But it's choosing to say, okay, seeing confidence. Again, I don't know. Were any of you born with self-confidence? Because I wasn't. Anyone born with self-confidence? Now, some of you might have naturally as a child just been super happy, right? And you go, yeah, maybe you were. But most humans, even if you were like, was a pretty happy kid, had a pretty good upbringing, good things, you still get to be intentional as things as an adult, right? And saying, okay, I'm going to be intentional, not perfect, but committed to having a great relationship, a better relationship with me. I'm going to prioritize my needs, my well-being. Some of you, you put everyone else first all the time. Some of you that leads into people pleasing. Some of you, again, do I want to be invested in other people and relationships? Absolutely. That's juice of life. But you got to show up for yourself. Yes, one of you said put your oxygen mask on first. 100%. Yeah. I love Becky says, I often say I have the best life and totally mean it. We get to choose to love where we are. Yes. I love it. Also, Becky saying, I love the joy list. I just came across one I made for last summer and it made me smile. I now have a bucket list for every season and have so much fun having fun. I like that. This is so good. Yes, some of you are putting some really great things in the chat box of ways and habits that help make yourself a priority, right? Sharing and nourishing. Yeah, choosing to take good care of yourself. How many of you work from home? I'm just curious. How many of you like me? I'm mostly like yesterday, I was in Deer Valley the last 2 days, right? But my office is out of my home, even though I'm often out too. And like tonight, I'm going to speak at an event and I'll be off site, so to speak. But my office is here, right? Well, part of home officing, yeah, many of you are work from homers. Yep, many of you saying yes. One thing I've noticed that still matters, how many of you can relate to this? That even if like I'm working from home, I may not even be on a Zoom, you may not see me. I still like to get up and, in terms, get on a walk and do maybe a workout, things like that. But I do still like to get up and like do my hair, maybe put on a little mascara, and it's like, hey, put on a cute outfit. I love Debbie says, making your bed first thing in the morning is that even if I'm not going to be out and about meeting with clients or speaking at an event, things like that, I still, even as a work from homer, like many of you, I still think there's value in doing that too, right? Is kind of showing up from yourself and that energy. Terry's asking where you get the creation journal. You get it on Amazon. Yep. Amazon's the only place you can get it, and it's $19.95. It ships all around the world. That journal's been sent all around the world, which is so fun. So that's good too. But these are just some things. Sarah, hopefully that helps you with, I thank you for that question because it's a great reminder of what are the ingredients, right? Like I made the most amazing dessert on Sunday. We had a little family dinner and I made this almond torte, you guys, and it's a very easy recipe. It was delicious. It's so good. And then if you want to add a little berries, fresh berries and whipped cream, you can, but even just as itself, right? So delicious. The point being, I look at self-confidence like a recipe. I look at success like a recipe. What are some of the different ingredients and or influences that will help you have more of what you want? And it's a combination of mindset work and the thoughts you're thinking and then the habits you're implementing, right? And again, back to environments, those three key things where you're hanging out. I would like to say this is a Vince Lombardi quote where he would say, confidence is contagious. So is lack of confidence. Being mindful of the conversations you participate in and the environments you spend time in and who you follow on social media and those different things, being mindful of like, hey, what you're listening to and what's influencing you. Because again, I think confidence can be contagious and so can lack of confidence. So it's really powerful. Yes, so good. All right, anyone else that's here, if you're here live today, are there any questions, things that you'd like support with? I loved that question. Anyone else have a question or something you want to maybe go off of that or something completely different? What else might I be able to support you guys with today? What else are you navigating or anything else that's coming up for you? Yeah. I mean, we can always end early, but I don't want to. So if you have other questions you'd like support around, let me know that. And if you'd want to come on and dialogue live, I always love to do that. And I can promote you up to a panelist if you want to come on live. Okay, Candace, do you want to talk about this live, what you're talking about, and just also and or clarify that? Are you in a place you can come on live? Okay, let me promote you to panelist. Give me 1 second. Okay. It says allowed to talk. Oh, promote to panelist. There we go. You just have to probably accept that on your screen.
Okay. Okay. You can hear me?
Okay, I can.
All right, awesome. All right, well, thank you for your time. So much to be on here with everybody. So a lot of times when I think about um, my experience with self-confidence, it's definitely been a journey. I feel like did have a type of confidence when I was really young, but then experience kind of like dwindled my confidence a lot. So now I'm in a place of rebuilding it back up. So much to the point where I've had people from my past childhood tell me like, you used to stand up for me and do this. And I think so much negativity. Oh, let me move. Sorry. If you can hear me. Is this better?
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
There we go. Okay. Okay. All right. So I was just saying that my confidence was pretty high, but then it like dwindled down over time as I went through things as a child, and into my adolescence and all that. So much to the point where I started to forget a lot of things from my childhood because I suppressed them, and I actually developed anxiety attachments. So basically, what that is you kind of anxiously desperately in a way. I don't like to use desperately, but your anxiety kind of gets the best of you, and you attach yourself into certain scenarios that may not benefit you, that may not bring out the best of you, that may not align with you in your highest self. So like I have all these good skills and good things that I have to offer, but sometimes I just don't set myself up like we were talking about environment because of the anxiety attachment. So I'm definitely working on it. I'm definitely very aware, but I know I'm not the only one that may deal with that. So maybe talking about maybe some oils we could use, maybe some other things that people such as myself could use to kind of, cope. I know for me also, um, what I what I use to help my anxiety attachment is really focusing on things like you said that you like to do. Like when I'm home, like when I go to the lavender farm because there's a lavender farm not too far from me, I completely like just make everything all about me. It's easier, but sometimes it's not as easy to do so. If that makes sense.
Yes. Okay, if you'll mute yourself just because it's not, we've got some background noise when we're both on.
Yeah.
So if you just want to do that really quick, okay, good. Thank you for sharing that and for the courage, right, to be open about that. And anxiety is everyone deals with anxiety to one degree or another, but in some cases, right, it can be a major issue and challenge that you're facing. And I just have so much empathy for that I've had my own challenges at times with anxiety myself, and so I relate to that. And, it's how we navigate through it. And again, there's a couple of tools, right? There's tools in the toolbox, like we were just saying, recipes and things. And for me, a couple of things that help, of course, like a great therapist, if that's something like, hey, helping you with some deep healing and of past experiences, things like that, that you have that professional support. I think there's so much value in that. But in terms of tools that I use on a regular basis that help support me is a couple of things. One is, of course, prioritizing your physical well-being, right? Like I'm sleeping well, I'm moving my body, I'm eating nutritious foods, right? Like I'm balancing my blood sugar. Sometimes when my blood sugar gets wonky, that can definitely help create those sensations of anxiety. So it's like I'm really prioritizing my physical self-care on a regular basis, helps me more so with that. Certain times, of course, with mindfulness and grounding, like I love for me, the balance oil or the peace blend, like Lee is saying, there's lots of different, but I love the woodsy oils, the spruce, the, Douglas fir, the cedar wood, the balance, the Scirocco, I forget, how do we say that new oil, right? But the forest blend oil, but things that have a woodsiness, or even like I'm saying, the last week I've done a lot of grounding with get your feet literally on the grass, right? On the earth, put my hands in the dirt, things that help ground you is a great way. But one of the things that has helped me a lot with anxiety on the mindset front is for me, the opposite of anxiety. We often think what we're after is peace, and it's true. But for me, peace is a fruit of trust and having affirmations, and for me that includes prayer and things of that nature that activate or anchor me into trust. Because often anxiety is I'm in the future, I'm fearful, or I'm anxious, I might feel anxious, right? Or I'm feeling nervous or things of that nature, and coming home to, trust and faith and whatever that might look like for you in your own spiritual life, God, source, universe, Jesus, Buddha, whatever you believe in those ways, but nourishing, like, hey, and even trust and faith in yourself. Like, I trust God, or I trust the universe, or God or universe has my back, but also, like, I've got you. That self talk really matters, right? Like, I regularly will say that to myself. I've got you. I believe in you. I'm here for you. It's okay. You're safe. And just literally grounding in some of the thought work that you're doing as well, that you're practicing that. And then the final thing I just want to say is actively investing time. Every one of you, this will be a valuable piece to hear, is actively spending time in mental rehearsal of what you do want, seeing yourself happy, seeing yourself, crossing that finish line if that's a goal, or on the hike or travel spaces, or seeing yourself just, again, feeling good and happy, seeing yourself at the convention or achieving that rank, or, the various things that you desire, is spending time in mental rehearsal. We also call that visualization, but it's choosing to see ourselves, because sometimes, again, anxiety is we're just giving energy to worry versus energy to belief. And this is where we get to direct our mind like the garden. And I get to practice this every day, just like you, like every one of us, is like, what am I mentally choosing to focus on? And am I giving energy to what I want and desire and seeing that? Or am I giving my energy to the fears and the nerves? And then sometimes anxiety just becomes familiar, just like peace can become more familiar too. But it's practicing, again, those habits where sometimes all of you like control. Every single one of you love control. Every one of you. And we might sometimes say control or control freaks. All of us love control. Okay. Or you have preferences. And so it's like, but learning to be like, I trust myself, whatever I'm going to navigate. Because often we have fear, we have nerves or anxiousness about the future, the unknown, what's going to happen, what about this? Your brain loves to problem solve, right? Some of you know that from the gratitude series we did, we do every November, is we talk about this there, that your brain, your literal biological brain is wired to problem solve. It's wired to look for threats, right? Just the primal part of who you are in your brain. We have to literally train ourselves to appreciate. We have to train our brain of what we choose to focus on and giving it things to focus on. Like, I love my life and I'm curious to see what beautiful connections happen today. And so, again, these are various things that can help support you. So, I'm grateful you asked this because this is something everyone deals with at one level or another. And if you're needing more support, like I have PTSD, it's a real thing, right? PTSD and helping get support. Like someone dear in my life right now has started EMDR therapy because went through a trauma this year. And it's like, yeah, that's a legit thing and helping get support around. And so, but some of the things we're also sharing are different tools that we all can be mindful of to be practicing. And there's some good things here in the chat box too, Candace, in terms of, different blends and things that might be able to support you as well. But thank you for asking that and just sending you love and belief and like, okay, God or life, universe has you, the power of dropping into that. So thank you for sharing that. Anyone else have a question or anything else that you'd like some support around today? And I'm going to, let's see. Oh, I don't want to do that. Okay. All right. Anyone else have something they'd like to share today that's up for you? Terry, do you want to come on live for this? Your question? Okay. Terry, give me 1 second to come to you. Okay. That should give you the prompt to join us as a panelist.
Okay, can you hear me and see me?
Okay. Hi, Terry.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Where are you joining us from?
I am in Gastonia, North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
New York born and raised, but I live here now.
Hey.
So my question is, what do you recommend for engaging team members? Like we have those ones that, they show up to all the things but they don't necessarily participate as much or I would love to see them a little more active. What do we do when they kind of just hang out on the peripherals and don't really get involved?
I love this question. Anyone here live too, if you want to put your thoughts in the chat box, things that you do. I love one of our participants here is a woman that I've known for years. Dear friend now, Haley B is here, and she's really good at doing community gathering, right? Because all of you are building community, and that's anything. I coach people in all kinds of industries, and it's like be a community builder. If you're a community builder, you're going to have thriving relationships, and thriving relationships and community lead to sales and opportunities. And so I love your thinking about this. And there's different ways to create engagement. I think first and foremost, some of the things I just want to acknowledge, like we've been talking about today, is that you're a walking billboard for your business, right? And that your own energy is like, am I loving my life? Do I need to come into alignment? Maybe my own wellness a little bit here or there, not about perfect, but that more often than not, your energy is in a place, which I get this from you, woman, like you have good energy, but it's being mindful of that, right? Because it's like energy's magnetic. And it's like, ooh, I want what Terry's got. I want to hang out with Terry, or I want more of what she's got. What is she doing? And the more that you're a living embodiment, right? And that we're practicing, not again perfect, but we're practicing some of these wellness principles as all of you represent the possibility or the invitation. Some of my own work says, Tiff, be the invitation to possibility. I'm an invitation for change, transformation, the work I'm doing in the world, where all of you, as well as you're an invitation for people to be the healthiest, happiest versions of themselves. And so that first and foremost is just like coming into alignment because frequency is the universal language. We might speak different languages, right? Like all around the world and different dialects and differences. But one thing we all have in common is energy. We are a vibrational based universe. And so as you are this for yourself, how powerful that is. Because you're an influence woman. So it's being mindful of that, like, yeah, I'm showing up in a certain way. And then secondly, again, I think there's different ways to engage your community, right? You can do in-person make and takes, in-person, hey, like a barbecue this summer or something like that. And they can be classes, but I also invite you, one of the things I watched the Goddards do early on is they would create gatherings that weren't necessarily just for, hey, we're going to sit down and do a class. Yes, that's valuable too, but it's kind of like, hey, let's do a girls' night in or a make and take or a holiday this or that. And, it's like you have oils diffusing, maybe you have a lavender lemonade, or I've at times, a fruit dip that's got things in it, but ways that you can model the oils in recipes or even having them simply diffusing. You don't have to turn into Betty Crocker with the oils, but you know what I'm saying? Like you're having ways that you're gathering, you're connecting. You might do vision boards together. You might have an online or in-person book club. Hey, we're all reading this book this month for June, or we're doing things that people get in, there's different ways to engage. Another great way of engagement is asking questions. It's easiest thing to do. So any of these folks that are kind of maybe on the fringe is like, hey, do you want to go to coffee? Or if they're not in your state, not in your neighborhood, hey, do you want to do a Zoom tea date? Let's grab coffee or tea. Let's get together. And I just want to, drop in and how are you? And you create connection. Connection creates community. Connection creates growth. And so thinking about what powerful way to connect with each other is just asking like, how are you? And what do you want to create this summer? I mean, everything we talked about here today and be like, you want to create a summer bucket list? What's some of those things? What do you want to experience more of? How can I help you get there? How's your business and where do you want that to be? And how can I support you? Those might be some questions too, the ways that, again, you want to be showing up. But that's a powerful way to create engagement is when I teach public speaking or I teach coaching of coaching other coaches or speakers or leaders with their skill set is we always lead with questions. So even in my talks and keynotes, it's not just me sharing content, it's asking questions. It's inviting people to think about, right? How many times have you seen me? I've modeled this throughout our session today. Hey, write this down. Write this down. Think about this question. Reflect on this. Is that getting people to, again, the more they engage, the higher they convert. And so I assume you're already doing some of these things. It's just maybe being more mindful of them, but connect people. It's just like when we say a lot of business happens on a golf course. You don't have to be a golfer. That can be at lunch. That can be on a hike. That can be on Zooms. But people, right, we do business with and we go, with when we're engaged, when we're connecting, the power of doing that. So any thoughts you want to add to that or anything you want to clarify?
No, though I like that be the invitation. I do most of my team are not in my state, so I do a lot of virtual things. But I like that idea of inviting individually to, hey, let's do a virtual coffee or tea. I like that idea for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
And you can
that's very helpful.
there's a tool that I use called Calendly. It's a scheduling link, right?
It's my favorite.
Yep, there you go. There's a tool for all of you, Calendly. But it's like you might choose like, hey, here's 10 potential spots for a virtual coffee date, right? And coffee doesn't have to be involved, you guys, obviously. We're just saying, but an opportunity to connect. And you can set those up in your schedule and like they're your connection calls and send out that link so it's aligned to your schedule, Terry. Like, here's when are some good pockets for me. Like, hey, I'd love to connect and pick a spot and let's get connected and let's share, and that kind of thing that people can help support you. Celeste is saying CalLink. It's called Calendly. Yes, Terry, thank you. Oh, Terry, that just went to hosts and panelists because now you're a panelist. You want to share that to
I'll fix it.
everyone. Okay. But that's a great way is just, again, because many of you like Terry, it's like, hey, because for just like me, my clients are all over the world. They're not just on my, little 30-mile radius of where I live. And so a lot of times you got to get creative and like, let's do some things online, right? You definitely can do that. So thank you for sharing that with us today. So appreciate that. So good to see you. I'm cheering you on, Terry, you rock star. Everyone, thank you so much for a rich call. It's so nice to see you guys again. I've missed you for several weeks, and hopefully things you guys that, we talk about here today have been helpful and valuable. I've loved being back here with you and sharing some of these tips and these ideas to support you. So my invitation to you, though, is that great coaching doesn't change your life. And you might say, Tiff, but you're a coach. This is how you make a whole livelihood. What changes your life are the actions you take. So we've brainstormed several juicy things here today. We've all been well fed. So thinking about asking yourself, what actions do I need to take? Maybe it's downloading Calendly. Maybe it's setting up those dates. Maybe it's doing a community gathering. Maybe it's recommitting to your self-confidence, your self-care, your mindset work, the things you're going to be intentional about in your environments, and maybe asking better questions or coming back to really appreciating the people in our lives and nourishing those relationships. And so ask yourself, what action will I take as a result of being here? Right? Is hearing these ideas, hearing these insights that, again, great coaching doesn't necessarily change your life. It changes your life if you act on it. So take some action the next few days and the next week, and helping you move things forward and cheering you guys on. Have a great rest of your day. Welcome to June. Welcome to a new season. And I'll see you guys soon. Thanks, everyone.